Today's video, we're going to see what the least expensive options or what kind of options there are for buying a PC. Whether you could buy a new one from a company that manufactures them, or you could build it with parts. So we want to see what the cost differences between all of them are. Okay. So the specs that I picked were, for the CPU, was an Intel i7 14700K. GPU is Geforce RTX 4070 Super, 12 gigabytes. RAM is 32 gigabytes of DDR5. Could be 5600 megahertz to 6000 megahertz or 60 gigahertz. Storage is at 1 to 2 terabytes. For AMD specs, it would be an AMD Ryzen 7 9800X 3D, which is the latest AMD processor for the 7 series. And the GPU would be a Geforce RTX 4070 Super 12 gigabytes or a Geforce RTX 4070 Ti Super 16 gigabytes. The same as for Intel as well. At least 32 gigabytes of DDR5, 2 terabytes of M.2 NVMe SSD space. So for the DIY version, do-it-yourself version, if you built it with parts, for the AMD, it would cost you, for the GeForce RTX 4070 Super, you would pay about $1,506.99 if you bought the parts and put it together yourself. But this is not including taxes, so I didn't include taxes for any of the other versions as well. So for the AMD option, for the GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super, 16 gigabyte video card, $1,747.99. So as you can see, the difference between the GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super, the Ti Super, and the regular Super is about roughly, see how much, it's about roughly $250 or something, about $240 difference. So this card is more expensive, and this card is better as well. For the Intel option, it's got an Intel i7 14700K processor with same graphics cards. So this is the lower end, which is the RTX 4070 Super. This is the higher end, the RTX 4070 Ti Super, which is 60 gigabytes. Cyber power, let's check out cyber power. This is the AMD Ryzen version with Ryzen 7. This is 7800X3D, which is also a pretty new processor. This comes with a GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super, 16 gigabytes of video RAM. This comes with 32 gigabytes of RAM and 850 watt power supply. Windows Home. This costs about $2,036. That's what I put here. That's how much it costs. If you get the Intel version, it doesn't come with the Ti Super. It just comes with the regular RTX 4070. That costs about $1,649. And NZXT, next one. Able to find a find one with an Intel with a AMD Ryzen processor. A TI with a RTX 4070 Ti Super, 32 gigabytes, 2 terabyte and M.2 NVMe for $2,249. Okay. That's how much it costs for that. Considerably more than the Cyber Power. So let's check out Corsair Vengeance. So this is the AMD Ryzen 7 9700X with the Geforce RTX 4070 Ti, 32 gigabytes of RAM. This is about $2,699. Here's another one. This one comes with a Radeon RX 7900 XT. This is a different video card. So the NVIDIA one is better and it costs more. This is how much it costs for the Corsair one. For the Intel one, for Corsair Vengeance, it's about $300 less expensive. For the Ryzen 7 9700 I showed you is $2,699.99, about $2,700. We also have the Dell XPS, which is here with these specs: i7 1400 700K, Windows 11 Home, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 video RAM, 32 gigabyte DDR5. This one is at 5.6 gigahertz. Two terabyte M.2 NVMe 750 watt power supply for about $2,050. For the Super, which is less than the Ti, it's about $1,900. It's about $2,000, about $50 less expensive. So let's check the other part. I have to change something here. The NZXT one. It's actually 2249. Okay, so now let's do a comparison. So for DIY Intel GeForce RTX 4070 Super 12 gigabyte with an Intel processor costs about $1,376. For a DIY do-it-yourself Intel GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super 16 gigabytes, it costs about $1,617. CyberPower Intel RTX 3070 Super 12 gigabyte is about $1,650. And here's another one. This is for Dell XPS. That's about $2,000. For a DIY AMD GeForce RTX 4070 Super 12 gigabyte. If you build it yourself, it costs about $1,507. DIY AMD GeForce RTX Ti Super 16 gigabyte cost you about $1,748. CyberPower AMD GeForce RTX 4070 Super 12 gigabyte is about $775. For a CyberPower AMD GeForce RTX 4070 Ti is about $2,000 $2,036. For NZXT, it's let me check if that's right. $2,249. Okay. $2,249 for the NZXT. For the Corsair, it's for the AMD RTX 4070 Ti Super 16 gigabytes is $2,700. So here's a summary that I made up for the Geforce RTX 4070 Super 12 gigabytes for Intel. DIY was the least expensive. Then the next least expensive was CyberPower, and Dell XPS was the last one for being the most expensive. For Intel, for GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super 16 gigabytes, DIY was of course cheaper. Dell XPS was the second least expensive at $2,050. And Corsair was the most expensive at $2,700 for the same specs, for the same graphics card, for the same type of Intel chip, which was an i7 14700K. For AMD, we have for the RTX 4070 Super 12 gigabytes, DIY was $1,506.99, being the least expensive. Then it was CyberPower. Those were the only two options that I had for AMD RTX 4070 Super 12 gigabytes. And the difference between DIY and buying a new computer in this case was only $268.01. For some people, you know, everybody does not have a lot of time to assemble a computer or put together a computer. For some people, they may want to just buy a computer from a builder, and paying about anywhere from $200 to $500 to have someone build it for you is not too bad, in my opinion. So that's my 2 cents on it. So for the GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super 16 gigabyte for AMD, DIY was the least expensive, and NZXT was the least. Well, actually, let me change that around. Okay. DIY was first, being the least expensive. CyberPower came in second at $2,036. NZXT came at $2,050. Corsair came at $2,700. So Corsair was the most expensive out of all the comparisons. And CyberPower was like the least expensive out of the bunch for a pre-built system. And then the next least expensive out of the bunch was I guess Dell XPS. Dell is actually competitive. Their prices are actually very competitive from what I see, what I've seen here. Yeah, so you could expect to pay the difference between building a computer and buying a new one. Sometimes it's not that much. It's less than $300. Other times it could be $500. If we compare it with Corsair, it's $951.01. That's a lot. That's very, you're paying a very high premium. Maybe a Corsair builds really good computers, I don't know, but the parts are pretty much the same except for the case. Cases are different. Corsair does make their own computer cases, so I guess that would be different out of all the other computers. Every computer has different unique type of cases. So let's check for Intel and see what the price differences are for DIY versus buying a pre-built system. $433, okay, for Dell XPS. $1,083. Wow, that's a pretty big difference right there. Huge difference. I guess if you have $500 to $1,000 to spare, then I guess if your time is worth a lot, say you are an attorney or something, or you're a MD, or you're nurse practitioner or something like that, or you are an engineer and your time is worth hundreds of dollars an hour, then I guess it doesn't matter. You could buy a pre-built system. It may even be worth it because your time is worth so much. But if your time is not worth that much, then it's probably better to build it yourself if you know how to do that. If you can't, then I guess you could just pick a better option from a manufacturer that produces computers for less. I guess you could do that as well. So let's see for the RTX 4070 Intel. Let's see what the price differentials are. $274. That's not too bad. $624 when we compare it with Dell. So yeah, so you could expect to pay anywhere from my analysis, anywhere from $266 to as much as $1,000 for a pre-built. You could pay more for it, and you're getting everything that these manufacturers are giving you, except people are putting these things together, so it costs money to do that. It costs money to hire people and manufacture stuff. So it's always cheaper if you do it yourself. But if for whatever reason you don't want to do that, you could just buy one. It's not a problem. If you have the money, you could always buy one. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I just wanted to show you what the price differentials were for different PC manufacturers, and what it would cost for you to build it yourself. If you have any thoughts, you could leave it in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.